Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Broker Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
You're listening to The Financial Guys.
We're $23 trillion in debt, honey. We don't have an extra surplus of money.
Newsflash, guys, stop attacking businesses because when all the businesses are gone, nobody's going to pay your salary anymore. You get that?
If the goal is to create a loser mentality, you're winning.
I'm going to build a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door. Well, guess what? We have a big, beautiful door, all right. It's the wide open southern border, right?
Yeah.
Here's Glenn Wiggle and Mike Lomas.
All righty, welcome back. The place where money meets politics. Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle. We are the Financial Guys and have a lot of fun with this podcast. Been doing this now. Rochelle, how long have we been doing this?
Almost a year.
Almost a year? That's crazy. Time goes by so fast. Appreciate all our listeners. We're getting into the thousands of people now. When we started out, it was hundreds. A lot like the radio show. Many of you have tuned into us in Western New York, Buffalo, all the way out to Rochester, all the way up to Canada. And the great country of Canada. And I said on the radio show last week, I love Canadians. I just don't like Maple Leaf fans. I'm a Sabres fan. But
Yeah.
I do love
That's
you
okay.
Canadians. Just don't like you Maple Leaf fans. And most of South Florida. So, but I appreciate you tuning into our podcast. Monday through Friday, we do manage money. If you need us throughout the week, you can basically find everything we do, social media, phone numbers, through thefinancialguys.com. So hit that website and like our show on YouTube. I don't even know where to start. Let's start out with the good old state of New York, Glenn. Budget holes look to be Andrew Cuomo's third-term curse. Now, I'm not really sure in the great state of New York. There is a curse for Andrew. It doesn't seem like it doesn't matter what he does. He's like the Teflon man in this state. I mean, I honestly think he could actually light Albany on fire, and they would say, well, look, it's a job creation plan or something. I mean, the teachers should hate him for Common Core. The gun holders should hate him for the SAFE Act. Everybody who's fiscally responsible should dislike him. And he just seems to walk right back into office because of 18 miles on the east coast of our great state.
The curse is on the taxpayers. That's who the curse is on. The curse is on the poor folks in New York State that just get abused. This is not a third-term issue. This is an every-term issue. Andrew Cuomo spends money like a drunken sailor, and that's an insult to drunken sailors. He came out earlier this year and said, I've been the most fiscally responsible governor in our time. Really? Because you got a $3 billion budget deficit. The state of New York's budget's $175 billion. That's twice the state of Florida's budget with less people, right? So this is great. So this is now the Medicare part of it, right? The Medicaid. Now, why would Medicaid be underwater? Let's see. Oh, I don't know. Because we have the Cadillac plan. Because New York spends more on Medicaid than Texas and California combined. Governor Andrew Cuomo likes to. This is from the New York Post. Governor Andrew Cuomo likes to boast about how he tamed the state budget. Yet the financial plan update he put out Friday highlights some alarming mismanagement. I wonder who blamed this time. He always likes to blame somebody else, right? Despite a strong national economy, it turns out the state faces a $4 billion Medicaid spending gap this year, and the general fund shortfalls totaling $22 billion over the next 3 years. You know what that means, folks? Get ready for more fees, surcharges, and taxes. So that'll be great. I wonder why it is. Let's see. People with money leave the state. Right? Then you got to tax other people more for the ones that are left. Nice job.
Yeah. What's amazing is it doesn't matter who seems to be in that position, and Andrew's been there for a long time. They can never find anywhere to cut. Never anywhere to cut.
Never.
It's always spend. And then he'll come out and say, well, we're not going to increase your taxes. However, we are going to force everyone in the state to buy a new license plate this year. However, your DMV fees have gone up by 75%. However, we're not going to increase your property taxes, yet we are going to reassess your house because we do believe it's worth 25% more, even though nobody in the neighborhood is buying a house for 25% more. I mean, total joke. $6.1 billion in the red as of the fiscal year April 1st. And
well, you bring up a good point about the houses. They always come out and they reassess the houses when they're higher. This article points out, and rightfully so, $22 billion shortfall of the next 3 years is assuming the economy doesn't slow. Right.
So we're at a record high with the stock market, right? Which, by the way, should help the state tremendously, whether it comes to pension funds or reserve cash flow, all that type of stuff. You've got an economy with 3.4% unemployment rates. I mean, record low unemployment rates. And even in this state, as crappy as this state is, there's help wanted ads everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But what is killing the state? Well, we all know what's killing the state, and that's called welfare. Welfare. We have the Cadillac of Medicaid plans. We have the Cadillac of welfare, and they refuse to cut it. And apparently, now being able to abort children at a full term, which was going to be an economic stimulus plan for New York, apparently isn't covering the bill.
No,
right.
This is the best part,
people are going to come here from all over the country to be able to get their abortion, but apparently that's not happening.
No, that's not working. Here's the best part about this. Here's his plan, Mike. This is the fiscally responsible governor of New York State, self-declared fiscally responsible, right?
Yeah.
The governor hopes to close this year's hole by pushing the $2.2 billion Medicaid bill to next year. There you go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And he'll also find $1.8 billion in savings over the remaining 6 months. Oh, that's a good plan. Yeah, we'll just. Here's what we'll do. We'll just push $2.2 billion to the next year, and then we'll just find $1.8 billion in savings. You haven't found a nickel in savings, Governor. Not a nickel you found in savings. I mean,
how sad is
joke.
it? A record low unemployment rates, and we're in a bull market, not a national recession. I can't imagine how this problem is going to exasperate itself as we go back into a recession at some point.
Yeah, no, this will be ugly.
I don't know. I mean, at what point do you start taking certain municipalities in these states like Illinois, like California, like New Jersey, and like New York, and just start defaulting on them, right? I mean, at some point, that's where it's going to end up. I mean, you can't continue to run up $6 billion shortfalls and not at some point have to pay the piper.
Well, here's what's really frustrating, right? So I think it was Mayor Brown just came out this week, and they're forming a coalition to come up with a way to study a way to find out how to help these people that are unable to make their tax payments due to the rising taxes, right? So again, the 1, 2, 3 step of Democrat policies: create the problem by spending way too much money, raise taxes on people who can't pay them, and then present the solution about finding a way to present tax credits or figure out a way to provide subsidies or whatever you want to call it to people who can no longer afford their property taxes. And the sad thing is, most of the people that are hurt in New York, now keep in mind, and it doesn't matter, New York, L.A., San Francisco, Seattle, it doesn't matter.
Pick one.
All the people that the Democrats profess to help, we're here for the poor. We represent the elderly. We're here to the downtrodden, the people that are the most vulnerable in our communities. Those are the people that the Democrats profess to help. Those are the very same people that suffer the most under Democrat policies. Who's suffering right now under the high tax structure in New York State and the high property taxes especially? Seniors are. Widows are, right? 80-year-olds that have lost their husband and lost part of their pension and Social Security that are trying to make 2 ends meet. They run these feel-good commercials like, nobody should have to decide between paying their mortgage and putting food on the table. Yes, you're absolutely right about that. We all agree. But then stop raising taxes and fees.
How about the fact that
just the electric costs.
How about their fact that their mortgage is in escrow and half of it is their property tax?
That's right. Half of it's property. Think about the energy costs now. My tax bill, let me tell you this. I have a piece of property in Alden, as everybody probably knows if they listen to us on a regular basis, my hunting property, my little paradise, right? The electric bill was higher because it's hunting season, so we're spending a lot of time out at the property. The electric bill at the property was $150 this month. $62 of that, Mike, was surcharges and fees. So everybody in New York is paying. What you're paying for, folks, is that little elderly widow on the east side of Buffalo or downtown Buffalo or wherever. That poor old, 80-year-old person who's trying to live on a fixed income. They have to now pay 3 times the national average for electric utility costs, so that Andy can have his windmills offshore that produce no energy. So we can all feel good about doing something for the economy or something for the climate, which is a whole bunch of hooey, anyways. What a joke. And so you're hurting the very same people you profess to help every time. Sorry.
Buy that same very piece of property in the state of Las Vegas, and your water bill and your electric bill will be less than right here in good old Western New York, where we have something called Niagara Falls.
And the Great Lakes.
One of the wonders of the world, right in our backyard, yet our electric bill and our power bills are twice that.
Right.
The water
Unreal.
bill, by the way, we had a client that moved from Buffalo to Las Vegas, and she said her water bill was one third, same house. She said she took the same amount of showers. She washed her car the same amount of time. And it was one third the price. How could that possibly be, right?
Yep.
But
because we have a water authority, we have an energy authority, we have a thruway authority, right? We have the Niagara Power Authority. We have all these authorities, and what these authorities do for New York State is it hides the real budget mess. So it's not as if a $3 billion budget gap or a $6 billion budget gap, that's bad. But what people don't realize is that a lot of this stuff has been shifted off to these authorities. Now, of course, to run these authorities and to borrow money from these authorities, those loans coming in and those municipal bonds that these authorities are putting out there, the money that they're borrowing from the taxpayer via municipal bonds, that's all off the books. That's not on the state budget. That's a side deal. Those are separate entities, right? And of course, to run those entities, you got to have armies of bureaucrats that happen to be cousins and uncles and nephews
and pensions
right?
and pensions. You can't run one of those without a nice pension plan, right?
Oh yeah, pension, healthcare.
That pension plan needs to be stacked so that your last 3 years you get 75% of whatever you've done. There was an article I sent earlier in the week to you. People living in these cities are most eager to get out. And you're going to find this shocking that the top 5 are all run by Democrats. Yep. Chicago, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, and you guessed it, number 1. I know you would have. Andrew Cuomo did it again, New York City. The number 1 city people want to get the heck out of. And that's scary because, New York City should be, a beacon of opportunity, right? I mean, it should have been.
Used to be.
With the Statue of Liberty and Wall Street and the amount of, prosperity that has just, think about all the money that has gone through places like Wall Street over the last 100 years, right?
Yep.
And the fact that they have absolutely destroyed that is really scary. But top 5, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York City. So if you're listening to the podcast.
Not Houston.
I know.
Not Tampa.
And think about that, though. Think about what the cities that Democrats and these redistributing wealth policies have destroyed, right? I mean, San Francisco was a beautiful city, an absolutely beautiful city. Just a 45-minute car ride, you could go into some of the greatest wineries in the world, right? Beautiful weather, 75, 80-degree temperatures. You could take a drive into the Bay Area. It was 65, and you just experience all these different things. And redistributing people's money and discouraging them from working actually just destroyed the whole city. I mean, New York City, right? You now have more people that want to get the hell out of that city than go into the city. Yeah. And that was a place where people moved from all over the world to change their lives, right?
It's
to
more
say,
than just
I'm
that,
going to make more money.
Yeah, it's more than just the poverty side. It's more than just giving out welfare. It's a lot of it comes down to the prosecuting of crime or lack thereof, right?
Sure.
In all these cities, whether it be New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, essentially the prosecutors have decriminalized certain activities that they deem okay. So they have decriminalized drug use in San Francisco. They have decriminalized shooting up on the street. They have decriminalized defecating in public. Like when I was growing up, and still in the most places that I know, if you can't just walk out to the parking lot and whip it out and start peeing, right? That's indecent exposure, right?
Right.
As much as we all as men would like to do that, right? We can't do that because it's indecent exposure. But you can do that in San Francisco. Next time I visit San Francisco, I'm just going to walk over to whatever light pole and just let her rip. I mean, why not, right? I mean, what a joke. But if you were in any other sane place, you'd get a ticket. You'd have a fine for indecent exposure or maybe worse, as rightfully so. But they've decriminalized that, right? Look at Seattle. The police officers will tell you in Seattle, we just don't even arrest these folks anymore because 85% are put right back onto the streets. And if you think it can't get worse, folks, look at what happened in London this past week, okay?
Yeah.
That terrorist... They have an early release program in London now, in Britain now. So they're releasing ISIS terrorists with half their jail sentence served. This guy was supposed to be in jail for 16 years. They let him out in 8. He was out for, a week, and he stabs 5 people, kills 2 of them. 2 people now. 2 good people in Britain no longer have their lives because the liberals in Britain decided that they wanted to make themselves feel good by releasing these criminals back into the streets. This is what California is now starting to do. In fact, there's an article that I have here. Sadly, they're on the hunt for a guy who is a rapist, right? A child rapist. And the Durham police or the Dunham police, I'll find the article here, released this guy not once, but twice. At what point do you start to hold these people accountable as accomplices to the crime?
Could you imagine somebody doing something like that to your son or daughter and then finding out they're back out on the streets? I mean, what the hell is possible? What could possibly be wrong with these liberal Democrats' brains to allow a scumbag like that back out on the streets? I assure you, and I've said this, and I'm not kidding, if somebody did that to my daughters, I would want them to be let out. Because they wouldn't, I would track them down, I would hunt them down. To your point, Glenn, which is absolutely spot on, and I think we've sort of, it's funny because we did a bunch of entire radio shows about this. The number one most important thing when it comes to economic prosperity, and I'm always bashing on welfare, and we're always talking about high taxes and high regulation. Number one is safety. And I've always used Buffalo, New York as an example. The east side of Buffalo, right? We paid a few $1 million for our building in Amherst, New York. Just a stone's throw away. We don't own a helicopter, but if we did, all of a 30-second helicopter ride would take you from our office in Amherst, New York to the east side of Buffalo, where we could have purchased the same size building for basically free. So think about that, right? I mean, literally a helicopter, 1-minute helicopter ride, and we're in the east side of Buffalo, and we can get the same 30,000 square foot building for basically free, but we didn't do it. I mean, you think about that. We could have saved ourselves millions of dollars. Why? Why did we not do that? Well, because our clients would not have felt safe. Our employees would not have felt safe. And that is that blows my mind to this day to think that somebody would spend millions of dollars just 10 miles up the road because of safety, as opposed to 10 miles the other way, free building, but yet I don't feel safe. I don't feel like my employees are safe. That just shows you how important it is. The safest communities in the country are the ones with the most amount of economic prosperity. And to your point, those communities are going to be the ones that are protected by police officers who are cared for, who are loved by the community, who are appreciated by the community, and oh, by the way, who have bigger guns than the scumbag criminals that have illegal guns that are not turning them in.
So this was yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever. Durham, it was Durham, D-U-R-H-A-M. Durham police asked for help finding a man charged with the 19-year-old woman's murder. Brian Jose Guzman is an illegal immigrant who was released by Durham County Sheriff prior to the murder. So now they want him back.
How could that be?
Now they want him back.
Could that
I'm telling you what, that sheriff in that county should be charged as an accomplice to the murder, right? Because it's like, listen, if you drive the bank robber to the bank, right? And you didn't rob the bank, you just robbed the car, right? So the guy went to the bank, that comes back out. You get charged as an accomplice to the crime. You help them commit the crime. How is it any different when a sheriff's department releases after being asked to hold the person on a ICE detainer? How is it possible? It drives me insane that we don't do anything about. Oh, okay, I guess this poor young lady has lost her life.
But think about how mentally ill these left-wing nut jobs are to say, oh, you know what, you raped somebody, but get back out on the streets. You'll probably be fine next time around. Oh, you're an ISIS terrorist and you've threatened to cut people's heads off who don't believe in your religion. Not a problem. I'm sure you were rehabbed in a cell for 8 years. You'll be fine. Get back out there, Joe. Go get him. Like, are you kidding me?
You'll be a productive member of society, I'm sure. The good news for us is, thank God, is that we have a giant ocean between us and most of the countries where the people that want to cut our heads off to live. So Britain not so lucky, right?
And I've been saying this for a while. There's a real positive. Unfortunately, we were born in the great state of New York, and so we started our businesses at 20. By the way, we had some craphead who called in
We
this
should
week
play
and said,
that, by the way.
If you don't like New York, you should move. Okay, moron. But we started our business.
So you can pay more taxes?
Yeah, and we started our business at 20 years old, not being naive. I have to be honest. If I could go back in time, I think, and meet Glenn, and the circumstances were the same, and we could, take the people that we're surrounded with and very blessed with in New York now and move them and cut them out and go to a state like Florida, bye-bye. I'm gone, right?
No
but
doubt.
we didn't do that. 20 years of working our butt off, and these liberals go, well, if you don't like it, just leave. Okay. You know what? The $2 million building that we just, financed so many people could feed their families. We'll just leave behind and walk away, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm guessing he's
problem.
probably not a top salesperson for Keller Williams. I'm going to double check and make sure he works. So I'm going to give him a call this afternoon and find out.
In fact,
and then we're going to play that.
We should do a joint call with him. We should do a joint call with him together. We'll invite him back.
I just want to verify it's him so that we can actually start playing it and start, trolling him on social media, because that's just the fun part about this this whole thing is you get to troll people like that and just trigger them. And this guy, we ruined this whole weekend, right? He listened on Saturday. He waited till like Monday or Tuesday to call.
Waited all the way till Tuesday.
I mean, how do you?
It really got brewed up, and then he let it all go on our 20-year-old assistant. Real tough guy.
Speaking of big men and tough guys, we got to talk about Hunter Biden on the other side of the break here. I mean, talk about stricken your responsibilities. I mean, we got a Biden clip to play as well. You don't want to miss that because
Hunter Biden and Joey Biden, and I'll tell you, Mr. Joe, you're getting to be really, really even creepier than I thought. We talk about, can socialism destroy New York and California more? And every day you go no, and it gets a little worse. Every day I think to myself, can Joe get any creepier? He did. Yeah, absolutely, he can.
Does.
All right,
he does. Yep. Well, if he for whatever reason, cheating, stealing the election, whatever. Imagine him in the Oval Office. Who's pulling those strings? Because he's not making those decisions. He doesn't even know what state he's in. He's telling stories that go nowhere. This story that we'll play, if you haven't heard it already, this is better than the Corn Pop story. I mean, first of all, who's ever known a gang member named Corn Pop? Seriously? I mean, honest to God, Corn Pop? Did you have Corn Pops this morning for breakfast, sir? Is that why that came to mind for you? I mean,
Corn Pop is a name of a character on the Disney Channel, not an MS-13 gang member.
That's right,
exactly. Let's take a quick break. By the way, if you need any of our content, thefinancialguys.com. Like us on YouTube. We'll be back. By the way, we do manage money for a living. A lot of fun with our radio shows. A lot of fun with our podcast, but use this as a resource if you think like us. And we get to work with folks in our Western New York office. We've got of course, flagship office in Williamsville, office in Rochester, New York, and then 2 offices now down in South Florida, Palm Beach Gardens and in Jupiter. So use our team as a resource and go to our website. You can send us any questions you have as well. If you have questions about you and your money and you're not sure, hit the website, send us a message. We'll be back on the other side of the break here. Welcome back. Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle, Financial Guys, and podcast where the place is money meets politics. Many of you may know us or recognize our voice from radio shows, Western New York, South Florida. Now you get to see our pretty faces if you go to YouTube. Rochelle, why is that funny? Neither. The pretty part threw everybody off. Yeah. But place where money meets politics. We have a lot of fun with this podcast. And we do manage money for a living. Our website, by the way, thefinancialguys.com. All of our social media content, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, like us on YouTube. By the way, please like us on YouTube. I think I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? Subscribe.
Subscribe. I think subscribe, yeah.
There is not enough.
I think you can hit the thumbs up button too, though. Yeah. You can hit the thumbs up button on YouTube.
There's not enough conservative content in the media. Actually, there's no conservative content outside of Fox, which I really do believe Fox is more fair and balanced. I know they are certainly more right-wing leaning, but Fox does do a good job of trying to bring both sides to the table. CNN only brings one side to the table, and it's a very, very, like 2% of the entire population. But so subscribe to us on YouTube. Before the break, we were talking
about... But real quick, Mike, you just mentioned removing stuff on YouTube. Did you see the 60 Minutes clip, a report that they just came out with? I'm shocked this was CBS.
No.
They did a study. CBS did a quick study on the 60 Minutes. They found that 300 Trump commercials, ads, and videos were removed from YouTube and Google. over the last couple
of
months.
Who did that? Sorry,
now,
CBS?
CBS 60 Minutes. I was really surprised, but 300. They're taking down ads of the president himself. I mean, this is where
I wonder who did that story and who will be missing next week.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Who's going to be charged with, find out they're a sexual predator at CBS? We'll see what happens. They're the only ones that haven't been touched, by the way. CBS, CBS is, of course, the home of Dan Rather, who completely disgraced the news agency when he made up stuff on President Bush. But CBS thus far has avoided. ABC has all kinds of sexual harassment and issues, right? They hid the pedophile thing for Jeffrey Epstein, right? Yeah. So ABC is they spiked the story when they could have protected more innocent girls and young ladies. NBC, though, same thing. NBC had Matt Lauer, right? Yeah. The president of NBC, I think, had issues as well. So CBS has a real opportunity here to set themselves apart as an actual news organization. And if they did that, if they could just get their brains set and do it like they did with the 60 Minutes thing, and actually they could take over mainstream dominant. Yeah. If I'm going in, you hire you or me to go in there and run that organization, within 1 year we are the #1 watch station in the country because Americans are looking for actual news. They're sick and tired of the they're sick and tired of the lies, they're looking for investigative else.
They're looking for investigative reporting and the truth, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is going to fall somewhere in the middle, right? Yep. Most of the time, right? So, but they're looking for the truth. And to your point, absolutely. But that probably won't happen. CBS will just, sort of wither away. That's going to by the way, all that's going to go away. I really believe that. And that's why it is so important that you support the conservative thinking type of people, the people giving you the proper news, the investigative type of reporting online. It is going to be so imperative that we keep that channel open because nobody watches the news now. I mean, local news. You used to go home with your family. Everybody would eat dinner. You'd sit down. And in Buffalo, New York, when I was a kid, we watched Channel 7, and it was Irv Weinstein and Tom Jones, right? Yeah. And you would just wait for the news to come on because you'd try to that was your information for the day. Now everything's on your phone. Don't need them anymore, and nobody cares. And most of the country geographically thinks they're all bullshit anyway, so they're not going to watch it. Just because
they're more interested in the Voice and things like that. But anyway, so before we get to Biden, there's one more thing on immigration. This is a sad irony, right? So this is out of I think out of Colorado. A man who slammed President Trump for racist immigration policies killed by a legal immigrant. So when Sean Buchanan first started his years of publicly advocating on behalf of asylum seekers, he must not have never imagined his life would be put an end by an illegal alien who avoided deportation by hiding in a local sanctuary church. The father of 5 from Colorado Springs died on August 4th while driving his motorcycle on Highway 83 when Miguel Ramirez Valiente swerved into his lane and killed him. The illegal was charged with reckless driving and with a revoked license, according to conservative fighters. Why did he have a license? Why was he in the States to begin with? So now he leaves a wife and 5 children.
5 kids.
5 children. Now, look, it's a sad irony, and nobody wants to see anybody killed, especially fathers like that have kids, but come on, guys. Like, enough is enough, right? These folks they just arrested a whole bunch more MS-13 members somewhere in the country this past week. I mean, every single day, somebody is dying in this country at the hands of a legal alien that shouldn't be here to begin with. And in New York State, instead of trying to get them out, no. New York State's saying, come on, welcome in. In fact, New York State has gone so far in New York City to ban the word illegal alien. If you call somebody an illegal alien, and we're going to do it anyways because too bad, you're going to arrest me, go ahead. I'll take that First Amendment free speech thing right to the Supreme Court. Yeah. They're illegal aliens, and I can call them whatever I want. The fact is they're here illegally, and they shouldn't be here. And if they weren't here to begin with, then a lot of Americans would still be alive, including teenagers, kids, wives, kids, fathers. Sad, real sad.
The people sneaking over the border are not doctors, lawyers, plumbers, electricians.
No, they're not the engineers, right? Yeah. They're not the ones coming in for the blue-collar job.
I get it. Like, the argument that we get from the left all the time is, well, some of these people are hardworking people. Yes, they are. And some of them are MS-13 gang members. So if you can tell me the difference between the two, I can.
I'll tell you the difference is the hardworking one came through the legal channels and did
that's
it the
right.
right way.
That's exactly right.
The difference.
That's exactly right.
That's the difference.
That's exactly
The
right.
other snuck over the border in the dead of night and climbed the fence or swam the Rio Grande. That's the difference.
Broke our rules before we started. And to the case before, that guy didn't have a driver's license, right? Would he have passed the test? We have rules in this country where you need to be able to prove to somebody at the DMV that you can actually drive a car before we let you out on the roads. Not if you're an illegal alien. You just go down and get your license. Oh, this is me. Yeah, fine.
His driver's license was revoked. Why did he have a driver's license to begin with? So this, folks, in New York State, that's coming next, right? Oh, we got to give driver's license with the Green Light Act. We got to give driver's license. It'll make us all safer. In fact, some of the ridiculousness of these politicians, it'll lower your auto premiums by 20%. Sure it will. Sure it will. We'll wait on that one. Anyway,
let's talk about Creepy Joe for a second here, if we can. And his son, we'll get to Hunter as well. His son, real prize. He basically got a stripper pregnant. She had a little boy, and now the DNA test came back. It's 100% his, and he's fighting what he owes for this. This is a guy, by the way, who's been making $80,000 a month doing nothing, right? Just hanging out on a board that he has no clue.
He spent it all.
I bet. Yeah.
Something like, I don't know if the number was either $6 million or $16 million, but he's claiming in the court case, Hunter is, that he's broke. He has no money. He's in debt. So basically what he's saying is, I threw all that. I was being paid $80,000 a month, and I basically just squandered it all away, right? So that
totally disproves, by the way, the argument of him being qualified to run a hedge fund, right?
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
I would think if you and I were totally broke, we're not qualified to run a financial planning firm the size that we are. In fact, by the way, and I don't know why they're not regulated, but you and I are regulated. We actually have to keep a certain amount of money on hand to be able to do that, right?
Well, they're Democrats. That's why.
Not the Biden family. Not the Biden family.
Think about what Democrats get away with, Mike. Governor Corzine, if you remember. I'm going to go back a little bit now. It's a little bit of a throwback. Governor Corzine was the governor of New Jersey, okay? He left as the governor. He started a company called MF Global. What a perfect name for that, right? He took money from client accounts to basically pay off the margin balance for the corporate trading account because he made a huge bet on Greek debt. And we all knew that Greek debt was going underwater. He thought, I'll take the contrarian approach. So he got the private trading account way underwater. He needed to pay off the margin balance. He was getting margin calls. He diverted like $3 or $4 billion from client accounts to pay that off. Now Bernie Madoff did a very similar thing, except he paid off his watches and homes and things like that. Yeah. Same difference though. Did Governor Corzine get charged? No, he did not. The SEC came out and said, I don't see any crime here whatsoever. And Governor Corzine continued to be a bundler for Obama and raised hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what you can get away with when you are a Democrat. When you are a Democrat, you can engage in your-face fraud, no problem. Money laundering, check the box. Run it through a foundation and pay yourself for a wedding, you can do that too. No problem at all. But if you're Rosie O'Donnell, you can make contributions over the limit to political candidates 5 different times under 5 different aliases using different addresses and not even face a charge, not even get charged with the crime. But if you're a Republican, right, if you're Dinesh D'Souza, right, you do it one time, you make a mistake and give an over-contribution, and you spend 9 months in jail. That's the difference. You want to talk about privilege? I've said this for a long time. It's Democrat privilege. There's no white privilege or anything else. It's Democrat privilege.
And add to the list now Hunter Biden. And I'm mark my words, by the way. Hunter Biden, who is now not taking responsibility for his son. Right? That, by the way, you're a dirtball.
What a creep.
You're a scumbag.
What a dirtball, right?
You're a dirtball, right? You fathered this baby. Step up and be a man and take care of it, right? I don't care if it was with a stripper. I don't care who it was with. It was your body parts that did it. I'm sure she didn't pin you down to do it. I'm sure you were all part of it. But mark my words, by the way, Hunter Biden, who is now claiming that he was competent enough to be on boards of gas companies or oil and gas companies, competent enough to run a hedge fund, but now he's broke. So apparently there's some disconnect there now that this girl's trying to get some back pay from him. But mark my words, we will see Hunter Biden with daddy on private jets over the next 12 months.
Oh, yeah.
So somehow he will be totally broke, but yet Hunter Biden will be showing up at some rallies with daddy on a private jet. Just saying.
Here's what you do. Here's what you do as a man, right? If you make that kind of mistake and you end up getting somebody pregnant, and you find out that the baby is yours, and they prove that the baby is yours, you man up and you pay child support to the mother and the child. That's what you do, because that's the right, responsible, mature, a moral, ethical thing to do. You don't fight it in court. You don't deny that you have any assets. He doesn't want to support this baby at all. The really sad thing is he knocked up this stripper at the same time he was sleeping with his dead brother's widow. That's how sick this guy is, right?
Big
so your brother
guy.
dies. Your brother dies of a brain tumor. Within a matter of a year or two, you're sleeping with his widow, right? At the same time, going to strip clubs and sleeping with strippers. This
High
is
character
if
guy.
this was in the if this was a Trump kid. Now they beat up on the Trump kids all the time. The Trump kids are international businessmen and women, right?
Right.
Ivanka has a whole design of clothing line that she has out. They're successful. They did it the right way. They built businesses. They built, whether it be fashion lines or hotels or buildings, right?
Yeah.
There was no freebies. There wasn't, go sit on a board and get paid for this. I mean, the difference is, and people say, well, the Bidens didn't do this anything different than Trump's. The difference is this, is that the Bidens didn't start to become international superstars and getting, $1.5 billion from China until Joe Biden became vice president. To contrast that with the Trump family has always been international business people, and they stopped all deals when Trump became president. I mean, again, you're talking about two completely different bizarro worlds. In my world, in our world, on our side, a guy like Hunter Biden who does what he does is all over the media. Joe Biden gets crucified for his son, so much so that he's already out of the race. The media that was kind of honest 30 years ago, in 1988, Joe Biden was running for president back then too, and he plagiarized a speech, and he also lied about where he ranked when he graduated college. That he was in the top half, he was in the bottom half. He's plagiarized a famous speech from somebody. Honest mistake. He plagiarized a speech. The media, who was kind of honest back then, found out about it, and they dogged him for it until he was forced to drop out of the race. Now today, they don't even talk about Hunter Biden.
No.
In fact, he told them, "You don't talk about that. You should be focused on the other guy."
Yeah,
right?
you should be
Where
focused
is the media?
on Trump.
The media is just nothing but propagandist now.
No,
I mean,
terrible.
it's unbelievable. But if that was today, he'd be gone. He'd be out of the race already. If that was 30 years ago, and he should be.
And he should be. But let's not maybe not because of his son. But this next clip should prove to you that he is totally not qualified to run. A hot dog stand. I mean, this is scary, by the way.
This is
a guy.
better than.
And by the way, who does his PR? Like, doesn't anybody stand next to him and pull the mic cord and say, "Okay,
you need a big hook."
He start okay, you're turning from a politician Joe to creepy Joe again. Gotta go, right?
Yep.
They do that. Andrew Cuomo, by the way, I'm not saying Andrew says creepy stuff, but Andrew never puts himself in a position to have to answer any difficult questions, right? So Andrew walks in with a posse, and they are all trained to know if there's a bad question, if there's a question that might put me in a tough position, you're going to push me out the door. He always does his interviews near a door, in a corner. Oh, you know what? Andrew's got to go. I'm sorry. He's got a meeting with Tesla to give them more money. We got to get out the door. Bye, bye, bye. I mean, who is monitoring this creepy Joe? Doesn't anyone pull him and say, shut up, man, shut up?
Right.
Let's play
He's like a shot collar. He needs like shock him back in
play
or something.
Play this video. By the way, just go back to the playbook. All you need to do, creepy Joe, is stay away from talking about children and rubbing girls' heads and smelling their. All you need to do is go back to the Democrat playbook. It's there for you. Here's the playbook, Joe.
You've been there for 40 years. You should know it by now.
Poor people. Go back to you're going to fix the educational system. Don't forget roads and bridges, Joe.
Yes,
roads and bridges,
invest
right?
in our infrastructure.
The infrastructure. That's the playbook. It's simple, Joe. It's simple. The poor people, and then throwing a few attacks on the rich and the 1%, and you're done.
There you go.
You walk off the stage,
That's it.
right?
Exactly.
He can't
He's too
do
senile
that.
now to remember all that. No, he can't do it.
He can't help himself but be a creep.
No, he can't.
He can't.
This is better than the corn pop clip. If you remember going back, he was talking talking about being at the swimming pool, and back then there was this real bad dude named Corn Pop. Let me tell you something. There's no bad dudes named Corn Pop. Nobody who listen. If you're a bad dude, your name is not Corn Pop. I can assure you of that. Right?
No,
unreal.
No.
But this has got 8.2 million views so far. This is Joe Biden again in prize form.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I love kids jumping on my lap.
As he looks lovingly at one of the kids.
Now the
what
shock collar.
Wait a minute, stop this.
Can you stop that, Glenn? I'm sorry. The shock collar should have zapped him as soon as he said, "I've got hairy legs." Like,
that's right.
Okay, that's going downhill. You know that is gonna. There's no way that's gonna end up good, right? There's no way it's gonna end up good. There's not one thing. The minute if I ever run for office, Glenn, and you're next to me, and I start the conversation off with "I have hairy legs," I want you to just push me right out of the room, and we'll start over. It'll be a do-over. Be like, look at.
We've given a lot of speeches, right? We've given a lot of presentations. We've given a lot of speeches. We've given probably thousands of talks throughout the years. Obviously, 20 years of radio shows and all this good stuff. Never once have I ever talked about my hairy legs or anything like that. Never once. Like, where are you going with this story? The best part is the beginning of this clip. Look at this kid in the corner. You can see this. She's looking up at him like, who the hell is this old white dude? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Mom,
and then when he
can
says,
we get the
"I
hell
like
out of here," he's giving me the creeps, Mom.
And then when he goes, I like kids jumping on my lap. He looks down at this kid I like this kid. I mean, honest to God, let's just play it one more time because it's just so classic. It's just so perfect. It's just unbelievable. It's really just like, what in the hell are you talking about?
Right.
And where are you going with this story?
Right. By the way, sorry, but there was a Trump rally last week in South Florida, which I was down at our South Florida office flew back to New York, but there was 20,000 people inside, 10,000 people outside. It sounds like there's like 7 people there. Like he starts off the speech and there's like 4 people, including his staff, going, "Yay, Joe!" like nobody cares. I mean, the Democrat Party is just on fire, and it is going down fast.
Yeah, for those of you listening, by the way, if you want to see this, if you're listening to this on our podcast and you want to see this clip and not just hear it, go to our YouTube video where we put this podcast up as well, or just go to our Twitter feed or go anywhere on social media. I'm sure you'll find it as well, but this is just priceless. I want to play it. Come on. Oops. Wait, now it's stuck. They took it off the internet. No, I'm just kidding.
It's gone.
Honest to God, I cannot get it to play now. Come on.
Financial guy's got a hold of it.
That's right. Wait a minute, I got it. Here we go. I don't know why it was stuck.
And by the way, I sit on the stand.
Oh, I just noticed this. He just put his arm around this kid. I didn't even notice that. It's like he's barely out of the screen, but he just puts his arm around this this poor little girl was like, "Oh, God help me."
Come on, you're running for president. There's got to be some
training. I wouldn't put my kids anywhere near this guy.
No,
not within arm's reach of this guy. Nowhere near this guy. Nowhere near. I just noticed that though. This video is priceless. It keeps it's a gift that keeps on giving.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
What the hell does roaches have to do with it?
Kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you
what in the hell is wrong with you,
What is
Joe?
he talking about? I mean, seriously. Yeah, he sounds absolutely beyond creepy, but he goes from rubbing his legs to roaches. Did he have roaches in his legs?
What is he I wonder if this is part of the same speech, because it looks like he's by a swimming pool. I see a kid with goggles on his head. So I wonder if this is part of the same speech where he talked about corn pop. Like, he was really off that day. I mean,
wow.
But seriously,
sad.
I mean,
that is
the
sad.
way
And
he looks at these kids is creepy.
Especially when that playbook, Joe, is already there for you. We've said it time and time again. The Democrat playbook is there. You talk about the children, you talk about the schools, you talk about infrastructure, you talk about taking the money from the people, the rich, those bad rich people, those top 1%ers, and redistributing it. The last thing you do is talk about your hairy legs and some kid rubbing up and down your legs and sitting on your lap. I mean, Total creep. Total.
What
creep.
are you talking about? Where are you going with this? Was there a point to that story? I have no idea. But this is the
no
supposed
idea.
front runner. This is their supposed, Trump trying to take out of the race. Trump doesn't need to do anything with Ukraine or anybody else to take Biden out. Nothing. Just sit back and let him go.
I agree. In fact, if he is the candidate when he gets to the debates, I would just say, Joe, I'm just going to give you my time.
Yeah, why don't you lead? Yeah, go ahead, Joe. You go. Yeah, you go first. Go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you. No.
Totally.
Like Mr. Trump, you've got 5 minutes. No, Joe. Okay,
yeah, like in Congress, I'll give him my time or whatever they call it. I'll cede my time to the gentleman from Delaware, Mr.
Joe,
Biden. Go
Joe,
for
why
it.
don't you tell him one of those stories about kids rubbing your legs? Well, let's go. Yeah.
Unreal.
Holy crap! All right.
Yep.
We'll end it with
end
it with the results of socialism. College students now fainting from starvation in Venezuela's failing college system. So another thing
I wish they would
in
pass that
Venezuela.
article around to other U.S. college kids because they're the ones that are out there going, "Yay, we want more socialism."
Yeah.
They're starving.
That's
poor folks.
that's the educational moment, by the way, and the commercial for the Republican Party.
That's
Here's
right.
what
No doubt.
socialism does. Here's the numbers from what was one of the most prosperous places in the world to now falling apart and kids starving in college and eating their animals. And here's what socialism does. That's the commercial. Yeah. If you want that,
right.
Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden. I'm not sure what he stands for besides kids sitting on his lap.
No.
That's the educational moment. All right, let's wrap this thing up. By the way, if you need us, financialguys.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. But everything is at our website, thefinancialguys.com. On behalf, we do manage money for a living, by the way. If you think like us, we have offices in Buffalo, New York, Rochester, New York, and South Florida, Jupiter, Palm Beach area. So use our team as a resource. Independent, certified experts. It's a one-stop financial shop. And we do have certified experts, and that's really important. Certified Medicare experts, certified Social Security experts, registered investment advisors, certified financial analysts, certified financial planners, and we work as a team. Use us as a resource. Mike Lomas, Gun Wiggle. We'll be back next week. We'll see you.